This is Phil Hoxton with Bodhtree. Welcome to the webinar, When to Make the Big Data Jump. I'm a Senior Vice President with Bodhtree in charge of solutions and sales for Bodhtree, and I'm the moderator for today's webinar. So I want to thank everyone for taking their time. You can see the list of esteemed panelists that we have on the presentation today, and I want to welcome them. If you want to ask questions during the webinar, you can use the chat interface to the right of your screen. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. This seminar is for those of you in organizations and corporations that think they have big data projects, they might not be sure, or they have business problems they think could be solved by big data. We're going to discuss all of these in case histories and in presentations in this morning's webinar. So for the agenda today, we're going to introduce each panelist and have them give a brief overview of their company and their relevance to the big data space. Then we have something really interesting. We have 3 case history studies. And in these case history studies, these are companies that Bodhtree has worked with over the past year or so. And they present use cases that are possible in the big data space. And we'd like the panelists to tell us, thumbs up or thumbs down on whether this particular use case they think would be a good solution for big data. So that'll be very interesting to hear the different panelists' viewpoints on all of these case history studies. And interdispersed with the case history studies, we'll be accepting questions from the audience, as I mentioned before. Just use the chat feature to the right of your screen, send in questions, and we'll be asking those questions to the panelists as we're discussing the case histories. So this should be really interesting. And at the end, we're going to wrap up, and if you stick around for the wrap-up, we're going to have an iPad mini drawing as well. So it should be an exciting morning and afternoon for us today. Our first panelist is with Bodhtree. It's Kain Sosa, who's our VP of Analytics. Kain, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Kain Sosa. I'm the VP of Analytics at Bodhtree. My professional focus decade has been helping in analytics in high-tech, healthcare, and retail industries. I'm passionate about visualizing ideas, knowledge and data with big data technologies to provide new insights. Bodhtree helps companies create value with big data opportunities with the right blend of business and technology domain expertise. As you can tell, we have some great strategic partnerships. Some of them are with us in our webinar today. And I'm very delighted to be with Oracle and Informatica as part of the panelists. Bodhtree delivers an integrated portfolio of solutions to the enterprise in accelerating growth, productivity, and enhancing security needs through our key offerings. ShareTree, which includes growth, TeleTree, which includes productivity, and SecureTree, which includes security. These capabilities can be deployed on a solid foundation with enterprise-class big data platform to take advantage of all of our data sources. We pair our rich portfolio with capabilities with industry-leading services delivered by dedicated analysts and big data consultants who can help accelerate time to value and deliver breakthrough results.
Great, Kain, thank you for that. So our next panelist up in the big data webinar here is Gokula Mishra with Oracle. Gokula, please say hello.
Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I hear that people are dialing from many different countries and different time zones. I'm a Vice President of Advanced Analytics and Big Data with Oracle. I lead a team to develop very innovative solutions to solve real business problems for our customers and enable our sales teams globally on go-to-market strategy and effective sales plays around advanced analytics and big data. I'm very passionate about this subject area, and especially around machine-to-machine space where big data and analytics are going to revolutionize many industries. Next. So how we look at the whole area is around the whole concept of business analytics. And when we look at business analytics, we see that information is being produced and used by every activity in your organization, in your company, as well as externally produced by your supplier, your partners, your customers, and also there's a lot of data being collected. So if you look at all this data, Oracle has had the history and has delivered the capability to enable our customers to put your data to work. Now, Vault's ability to produce data is outpacing our ability to use it. What we have on our hand is abundance of data. Now, the key is to be able to make the right analytics investment to capitalize on this data, as well as create a mentality to more effectively use data that drives better decisions. So that you have to not just collect all this new data, which may have high velocity, may result in very high volume, and also might have the many different varieties of data, but really the real key is to figure out what you will get out of it. How will you put your data and big data to work? We look at it in, there are three things you can do. Number one, use big data to drive innovation. This is leveraging new data, new techniques, new tools, new software, new hardware, and basically being able to now create innovation so that there is differentiation in your products compared to your competition, new products and services you can offer in the market, or build new business models so that you can have a leg up against your competition. So the ability to be innovative using analytics provides you the freedom to explore, create hypotheses, experiment with the data, and as data becomes more diverse, like you're getting with big data, you need to really investigate these new sources to determine how to best leverage for innovation. Second, use big data to drive optimization, which basically focuses on your existing business processes, and look at all the data that you're collecting regarding your internal processes, about inventory, about supply chain, about IT, about HR, and then being able to leverage the big data and analytics technology to drive out inefficiencies in the system and become more productive and understand your enterprise better. And the third area is to simplify your IT platforms and fight complexity as you are bringing in the big data analytics. Next. So here are many different. I know that you're from many different industries. So here are some of the use cases, categories of use cases in many different industries. For example, if you look at life sciences, where big data analytics is revolutionizing, different discoveries, R&D, clinical trials. If you look at automotive industries, auto sensors, data analysis is helping improve not only the vehicles themselves, but also safety of the vehicles. Oil and gas, providing a lot of sensor analysis to improve the efficiency of the oil wells, as well as understanding how to improve productivity. Next. And so in this space, Oracle brings a very complete, integrated, scalable solution around big data analytics, around streaming the data from sensors and high velocity to acquire, organize, manage, and analyze this data, and help you make decisions in real time.
Thanks, Gokula. That was very interesting. Our next slide is going to be with John Haddad from Informatica. And John, before we get started, we did a little analysis for today's audience today, which I thought might be interesting. We had over 450 companies sign up for this webinar. We have about 200 in attendance today. And audience today by vertical, the number one vertical is high tech, the number two vertical is healthcare, and the number three vertical is retail, distribution, manufacturing. So I want to thank all of the interested participants by vertical today. So John, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Phil. I'm Senior Director for Big Data Product Marketing at Informatica. I advise many organizations across different industries, such as high-tech, healthcare, manufacturing, and retail, in terms of big data best practices, both from a management and a technology perspective. So, how do we leverage big data? What are some big data use cases and applications? And my goal is to help our customers deliver the most innovative products and services by leveraging big data. You can reach me personally on Twitter. My Twitter handle is John M. Haddad, or at InfaBD or Informatica Big Data. And I encourage all of you to join the Big Data Integration Group on LinkedIn. There's some very good conversations occurring there. Next. Yeah. So to me, really what big data is about is the business finally making the connection to the data. So every business is looking to innovate. Innovate in terms of introducing better products and services that are going to generate more revenue and improving business operations. And this requires that businesses start managing their data as an asset. That is, what is the most important data that I need to answer these questions or to do a better job of predicting churn with customers, or to provide better products and services to my customers to be more competitive. And this is, to me, what it's really about. And in order to support that, you have IT infrastructure, enterprise information management infrastructure, that you've invested in. You've invested in data warehouse technology or appliances, data marts, master data management systems, OLTP technology, enterprise applications. Some companies are looking at complementing their traditional environment with Hadoop and other NoSQL technologies. And then the question is, do you deploy this on-premise or in the cloud? And so off to the left, you see the data assets, and off to the right, you see what I would call data products. That is, companies are starting to realize that we need to provide more information-based products and services to our customers to be competitive. And so what Informatica does is they do what I'll call big data integration, right? They help you access all data, any data, at any latency. And at the bottom of this slide, what you see here is your data processing pipeline. This should look familiar to data information practitioners. You need to access the data, ingest it. You need to be able to parse it if it's unstructured or multi-structured data. Because you're dealing with so much more types of data, you need to be able to discover, profile, and understand the data. And most importantly, you need to be able to transform and cleanse it so that it's fit for use. And then if you need to distribute this information across different systems and deliver it to its point of use, you need to be able to extract and deliver it. And while you're doing this, by the way, it needs to be secure in terms of data level security and in terms of no risk of security breaches. It needs to be able to perform and scale as the data volumes grow. You need to be able to govern it in terms of its quality and its authoritativeness. And because this requires a team effort, right, consisting of data scientists and developers and architects in the business and so on, you need to be able to have efficient collaborative tools to bring it all together. This is what Informatica does best. This is what we do. And so, thank you very much.
Great, John. Thank you for that wonderful synopsis of Informatica and what they do. So when we were putting together the idea of this big data webinar, and once again, for those of you joining late, my name is Phil Hodgson. I'm a Senior Vice President with Bodhtree, and I'm the moderator for today's event. We have esteemed panelists from Informatica and from Oracle and from Bodhtree. And as I was saying, we were trying to think about, what is a common framework for knowing when a corporation is ready to start a project in big data, or when do they realize that they have a business problem that can be solved with a big data approach or big data types of technology. So we brainstormed and we came up with some common big data business triggers. And let me describe them to you. So if some of these things resonate with you, send a little chat message to Ryan, our webinar moderator, and give him a shout out. So let me read some of these. So without deriving value from it, particularly click-through data might be a good example. If you have large amounts of structured and unstructured data that can't be processed together logically, if your data, for example, in multiple sales channels is siloed, then you know that you can't combine this data easily, and you can't use analytics to make good business decisions. If you think that your social media and user reviews are impacting your sales, particularly when it comes to product recall, this is another good use for monitoring the social media data streams and combining them with your structured data to do predictive analytics. If you have huge amounts of growing data volumes, if you have like petabytes of information that you're really not sure what to do with, and you don't know what kind of value it has, you're a good candidate for big data. If you have no clear picture of lifetime customer value across your different channels and what the value of that customer is to each particular channel in your organization, you're a good candidate. If you need to find a needle in a haystack to determine what the best strategy for your business is going forward, you're a good candidate. If your competitors are using big data techniques to eat away at your market share, you ought to be interested in big data. And the business models in big data are moving from what I'll call transaction-based structured systems to information-based systems that involve unstructured data. So what I'd like to do is I've kind of talked about these big data business triggers. Let's have each panelist comment, pick two of them, and make a comment. And I think we're going to start with Kain. Kain, go ahead.
Thanks, Phil. More and more we look at some of the triggers. I'll try to combine two of them. The very important is, before we were looking at what you would sell, but now you're trying to look at why you sell. So the impact of trying to grab that data, of that transactional data, and matching it to maybe data that's in social media or user reviews. And I'll give you a really good example. More and more, if you're collecting clickstream data or the log data when people log into your website, and that data is being captured, maybe it's not necessarily being thrown away, but it's not being leveraged. It's being basically put in a box. So the important thing is to try to grab that data and marry it with transactional data and try to understand why are people purchasing what they're purchasing. And you can look at the product reviews, more importantly, and try to look through that process.
Great. So Gokula, why don't you go next and just give a comment on one or two of these triggers from your perspective.
So I would look at, as everyone knows, we have been collecting, but also today, big volumes of very unstructured data coming from all different sources. And I think the challenge is, how do I combine this, data coming from different silos to get business value? And one of the challenges you have when we look at unstructured data, we have spent so much of our time in the structured world where we always think model first. Whereas in this new world of big data, we need to think data first, which means I should not try to model the unstructured data the way I've been doing it in the structured data. And that's where one of the challenges people face, that they're trying to model the unstructured data. So my recommendation there is take a data-first approach, get all the data together, and then use very innovative tools that are now available, data discovery tool, semantic engines that basically will help you, go through this noisy unstructured data and begin to understand the signals about your customers, the signals about your business actions, the signals about the campaigns that you're running and how it's working out, what your customers are talking about your products and services, and your support services. What is the customer sentiment that's applicable to your business? So that's where big data analytics really can help you and get value from unstructured data.
Gokula, thank you so much for that summary. John, we'd love to hear your viewpoint as well.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. What I think is particularly interesting in this whole big data era is that we're seeing more companies react to changes in their business model. That is going from traditional transaction-based to what I'll call information-based. And so, you know, we see this in healthcare, right, with the recent healthcare acts and legislation, where now healthcare payers and providers need to be more focused in terms of outcomes, right? Treatments need to be focused in terms of showing results. And this is a real shift in terms of that transaction-based to being more outcome-based. The other is, I was talking to a company a couple months ago, and their board told them, you know what, in order to reach our new growth targets, we cannot continue to go to execute in terms of this transaction-based business model that we've been so used to for decades. We need to be able to mine the data that we have, which is a tremendous amount of data both within the enterprise and external, and provide services back to our clients in terms of information that's valuable to me. Let me just give you an example. Consider, you know, every month I get a bill from my utility, and now that we're using smart meters, it shows my energy usage compared to my neighbors, right? Unfortunately, I'm you know, consuming more energy than my neighbors, and so I remind my family to turn off the lights after they exit a room. But then again, that begs the question, why should I have to tell them to turn off the lights? That should be automated, given that sensor devices are being placed in so many different types of things. This also gets to the question then in terms of the growing data volume, and we've heard this already mentioned on this panel. And just to give you a sense of the scale of this, I was talking to a media and entertainment company that's one of our customers, and they're telling us that their data management costs have risen in the last 6 months from $17,000 a day to $50,000 a day because their data volumes are growing at 20 times. And this is because they're trying to get data from many different channels, right? It's a media and entertainment, so they need to monitor the in-game experience, click streams for online retail, you know, in-store purchases, all this stuff, right? And it's just each time they open up a new store, that data volume grows exponentially. So those are some of the triggers that I've seen.
Oh, John, thank you so much for that input. That was really good. By the way, we're going to reverse the order of the panelists. You're going to be first up on this slide after I'm done introducing it. So the case history study number one. This is actually a real-life case history study, loosely based on a client that Bodhtree is working with today. So let me describe the company. The company is a mixed-channel automobile parts manufacturer, sales of about $1 billion a year. And they have a web presence, they have some retail stores, and they also, I'll call a white source to like Walmart and Target and Costco and Sam's Club and places like that. And they're roughly a third split in sales amongst each channel. The company believes strongly, or the board of directors believes strongly, that if they did a better job of cross-selling and upselling amongst the channels, they could probably increase sales by 25%. Now, that's $250 million. That's a big chunk of money. The business issues that this particular customer is facing, what this particular manufacturer is facing, is that the customer identity changes from channel to channel. They can't tell the same customer from channel to channel. And as a result, sales results are not correlated. And the marketing department is always giving out offers that are based on 6 months retroactive history, looking in the rearview mirror, versus making a prediction about what sort of cross and upsell programs are going to work from channel to channel. They also have 3 different customer support centers that support each channel. And as a result, they suspect that the retail channel has been losing sales to the web channel, but they can't really prove it. They don't have any visibility into the customer buying cycles and patterns and value. They don't have any Facebook, they don't have any Twitter, and they know that from time to time product recalls happen and it hurts the company's image, and they're concerned about that. And they have a data warehouse system in place, but every query takes longer than 15 minutes to get a response back. So this company is frustrated, and they're looking for, you know, what kind of big data techniques could they use in order to jump into a project. And so what I'm going to do, John, is start with you, and why don't you give me your 2 cents on this particular case history study.
Sure, Phil. So clearly, I mean, I love that last bullet. Data warehouse typical response time greater than 15 minutes. clearly they're reaching the limits of their current infrastructure, and so they need to start looking about how do they re-architect what they have in place today so that they can start to do more big data-like projects, whether it's investing in a data warehouse appliance or Hadoop or some other technology that's going to help them control their costs and yet address the growing data volume. The other thing that stuck out to me when you described this example is they can't get a clear picture of their customer identity. So even if they want to do more customer outreach and upsell and cross-sell, their hands are tied because they don't even know which customer is which. And so that's going to require them to seriously look at data quality and master data management if we get back to the architecture, because they're going to have to dedupe or match, match these customers coming from these different channels and get a single authoritative view of their customers. Then they can start to enrich that master information about their customers with customer behavior and insights and purchasing patterns and where are they purchasing, when, people like them, what are they purchasing, and doing more outreach. So this is what I think is some of the first steps that they need to take.
Great, John. I appreciate that insight. Thank you. Gokula, why don't you go next? What is it about this case that strikes your fancy?
So I think if I look at this, the company is suffering from data underload, which means they have a lot of data internally, but they don't have enough data that the business cares about their customers and understanding their business and the market. So they're poor in that area. Second, looks like they're not being able to connect all the dots. So they don't understand their customer from channel to channel. They don't understand their marketing efforts. As they say, my marketing dollar is paying off. I don't know which half. So it looks like that's the problem they have. And also, separate customer support call centers. So really, they need to create a 360-degree view of the customer, be able to deploy, technology and analytics tools to connect all the dots and understand and engage with their customers in the right way. Recently we helped a auto manufacturer do exactly that. Not only they were able to understand the 360-degree view of the customer, but also they were able to understand how the customers were reacting and saying about their product and fed those details back to their innovation center around their car so they can improve it on a continuous basis.
Gokula, thank you. That's a wonderful insight. So, Kain, would you like to join in with the other panelists and give your viewpoint on this?
Yeah, sure. It's a lot harder to retain an existing customer than go and acquire a new customer. So I believe we need to probably focus on the cross-sell, upsell, and the deep sell of existing customers. So if you look at the visibility, of the buying cycle, that's where I think that the company needs to focus on understanding those patterns and able to leverage them. By leveraging that, you can come back. If you look at that, one of the business issues, marketing offers are at 6 months retroactive. What does that really mean? How can it take 6 months to go and provide an offer? It's already too late. So the important thing is to try to focus almost in near real time and to provide those offers that are unique to that customer. And then that customer is actually going to be able to understand what the products look like, what the products offer to them, and they're going to be able to come back and buy more products.
Thanks, Kain. So we do have a question from the audience on case history number 1. And this question is for John at Informatica. John, here's the question. How do I get my hands on the holy grail for all marketing practitioners, a true 360-degree view of the customer, his purchases, his online activity, his interests, and his level of engagement with my products?
Yeah, great question. There's a number of things that go into doing that, to creating that 360 view. It's easy to say, but it is a bit of a journey, right? And you can't just take a big bang. You got to start small and gradually get to your goal. One of the first things that I recommend is investing in a few different technologies. Conveniently, I work for a technology company, so that's no surprise. But we even heard, Gokula mention that you need to get a handle on your master data, right? customer master data is probably one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable information. So you do need a master data management strategy. And in order to get that authoritative view of the customer, you need to look at data quality. How do I match people coming in from these different channels, whether it's online or through in-store purchases or mobile activity? And then you need to be able to integrate all these channels. So the data is coming from many different places, and it needs to land somewhere. So you need to access it at the source, move it into its destination, do ETL, right, process, transform it, and then enrich the master data so that you can feed that information back to your online store in the form of a recommendation or back to your customer service rep. Okay?
Thanks, John. That's good. I appreciate that very much. That's a good answer to a tough question. So now we're going to move to case history number 2, and this is a healthcare provider. So let me tell you a bit about this particular company. So this company is in a recent amalgamation of 10 hospitals, 15 pharmacies, and they're across 12 states. They have 10 different billing systems. They have 4 different ERP systems. They're about a $10 billion top line revenue, and the board of directors of the hospital, they want to acquire another additional 10 hospitals in the next 18 months. Okay, so what are their business issues? Their business issues are, 1, how to reduce readmissions. They also have 12 different payers, 12 different mainline insurance companies that are paying them, and they know that they're losing revenue because some of the billing is structured and some of it is unstructured. They don't mash it together very well, so they know that they're leaving money on the table. And it's not a small amount of money, it's in the millions of dollars. They also know that the business leaders of this particular healthcare provider can only view structured reports. They can't mash structured and unstructured data together. The financial planning department is asking for mashups of structured and unstructured data, trying to do economic analysis for the future growth of the hospital, and they can't do it. They're making guesstimations. And we also know that the company is in violation of some of the HIPAA requirements because of its inability to track data incursions and security breaches on a long-term basis due to the huge petabytes of information coming from all of their routers and their security and their firewall, et cetera. So they have a plethora of issues that are facing them. And I thought I would start off with Gokula for this particular case history study. Gokula, what would you say your perspective would be on this particular business case?
I mean, this particular business use case is crying out for taking advantage of big data and analytics and a lot of the new tools that are available. Looks like, for example, let me take one by one. Businesses reducing readmissions. The company will need to use techniques. They already have the data. They need to piece together and link the data about the patient's journey through their hospitals and their treatments and the drugs that they're using and how they're using it together to reduce readmissions. Going back to what John was talking about, they truly need a very robust, master data management system where they can link what I call tightly coupled data together, but also on top of that, they need technology that can bring in what I call loosely coupled data, where they can connect the dots with their patients. For example, financial planning. It is really pathetic that some of these hospitals actually don't know the cost of delivering services to their patients. So if you went and said, okay, last visit, what was the cost? The hospitals cannot put all the information together to give you an accurate view of what the cost is. No wonder our healthcare cost is going up. Technology exists today, and we actually are helping a number of our customers bring together structured and unstructured data using very innovative technologies, big data as well as analytics technology, to bring different pieces of information so that the hospitals can begin to see where their cost structure is and try to minimize that. Third one, around security, they already have the data. They log all the data interactions, all the network access, who accessed what piece of data. They need to use new techniques to figure out and reduce the HIPAA compliance problem.
Great, Gokula. That was really well done. Thank you so much. Kain, would you like to give your comments next, please?
Yeah, sure. And data is growing much faster in a healthcare organization that they can consume it. We can see it in EMR, lab systems, physician notes, and claims, due to obviously the electronic health record initiative. More importantly, we look at one of the top business issues is reducing readmissions. If by looking at the quality of care and reducing costs, the most important thing with reducing readmission is for the doctor to be able to predict the outcome of that patient. So I believe it was John who earlier spoke about the journey about a patient going through the process within the healthcare system. When the patient walks into the hospital, and if the patient had a heart attack, the first thing that the hospital will give them is an aspirin. The important thing is try to understand before that patient actually leaves, what are all the different touch points with different systems and different interactions that happen within that interaction, and how to leverage that before the patient actually leaves. The important thing is how to reduce readmission is to leverage the data that's there, that's not there, that's coming, and to be able to, for the doctor to provide a predictable outcome for the quality of care of the patient.
Great. Thanks, Kain, for that. I appreciate it. John, you're next up, please.
Yeah, just a couple points. I'd like to go back to the security thing around HIPAA. What's really important, especially in healthcare because they're regulated by HIPAA, is to be able to avoid any type of security breach. And the best way to do that is to mask the sensitive data. That is, mask it, obfuscate it so that it loses any potential risk of identifying who that person is. So there's technology available to do that. That should be certainly employed here. The second is, Gokula had mentioned, bringing together structured and unstructured. One healthcare provider, provider and payer actually, that I was talking to not too long ago, they're on this journey to provide more prescriptive predictive analytics, which we've been hearing about, right? The number one obstacle is the ability to get the data, and so what they've done is they've started to build an analytics platform to bring structured and unstructured data together, and at the intersection is what they call enterprise integration. This brings the structured historical data, right, transaction-based, with the unstructured sense and respond type analytics, right? So you need to get more real time. As Kain was mentioning, a patient, comes into the ER, they give them an aspirin, they want to track and be able to, understand what's going on with that patient and sense and respond in a real time fashion with alerts, appropriate alerts, right? Because I've also been hearing that providers are suffering and nurses and doctors from alert fatigue. So everything needs to be presented within the context. Things need to get smarter so we can deliver that patient care that we expect.
Great, John. That was really well done. Hey, we have a question from the audience, and I'll just let any one of the panelists that wants to jump in to answer this. What's the typical expectation for an ROI in a big data project?
Yeah, I can take that question. There's always this question around what is the typical ROI in a big data analytics project, or I have this business problem, but I think I'm not getting into big data, or I'm not getting into analytics project because it's too expensive. So truly, first make sure that you understand what business problem and business challenge you're trying to address. Translate that into various hypotheses and analyze what the value will be in proving or disproving those hypotheses. And then do some experiment and then figure out where the business value can be realized, because there is no standard ROI for big data analytics project. It really depends on the business problem that you're trying to solve and the approach that you're going to take to solve it. The ROIs have varied from anywhere from 100% to 1,000%, depending on what business problem you're trying to solve.
Gokula, that was a great answer. I'm going to ask Kain to jump in and give me a 15-second response on ROI, and then John, I'll ask you to jump in as well. Go ahead, Kain.
Really quick, Bodhtree's been working with this ROI analysis with the C-level executives of various organizations. Really quickly, it's really simple. Keep it short and simple, and keep it meaningful and make a direct impact. Really quick, people are going to see, I can do this in 90 days, I can do this in a couple of weeks, and they can get a response. That's the way you're going to get an ROI. You're going to be, and it's going to be very transparent.
Great. John, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's a range of ROIs, and some are extremely tangible. For example, one large bank, their data warehouse was growing exponentially, and we saw that in the previous use case, right, or previous example. And they were about to invest $20 million in an upgrade of that data warehouse appliance. They discovered that most of the data was inactive or infrequently used. So what they did is they archived that data to a Tier 2 system that was still active, but allowed them to save $20 million in a cost avoidance, and they're saving $2 to $3 million a year by continuously archiving the data on a continuous basis. And then the second is that's very tangible. The other is what is the ROI in terms of retaining a customer? So we see a lot of big data analytics being used to reduce customer churn or to acquire new customers. How do you measure that? You need to identify the right KPIs and the right metrics and create the value chain back to the data, right? And then you can truly manage data as an asset.
Great, John. Thank you for that response. I appreciate it. We're going to move to case history number 3. So case history number 3 is a multimedia empire. And so they have about 25 what I'll call media publications. They run about 50 websites. They own 6 television stations. Once again, sales about $10 billion a year. And the business issue is that the directors have told the operating management team that they really want them to grow top-line revenue and bottom-line profitability because they're suffering in both. The company doesn't know which customers subscribe, view, or read the 3 media channels. So they don't know if you're watching a television station, do you subscribe to this publication or do you hit that website? They can't tell one consumer from the other depending on the channel. They don't understand the cross-utilization of channels by consumer versus a competitor's product. And their marketing channels marketing efforts across all 3 of these channels are uncoordinated. And they know there's market channel cannibalization happening. They just don't know how is it being done and what are they losing. And the biggest problem they have is that their profits are declining. They're razor thin. And the senior management team has come back and they've told operating management, you know something? This analytics stuff, this big data stuff, it's way too expensive. Why would we even consider this? So I'm going to have Kain start with this. Go ahead, Kain.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Phil. Actually, let me go to that last point. Senior management thinks analytics is too expensive. You know, we hear that sometimes from smaller or medium-sized companies where they think that not now or not yet. I think the important thing is to understand the difference. If you look at the other point, companies does not know the average profitability of a customer. That's the customer lifetime value. How then can this organization go and make a more impact direct with the customer? If they don't understand the customer lifetime value, they don't understand the profitability or the revenue that could be generated in the future, how then can they provide a different offer? How can they provide different campaigns? How then can they provide different kinds of products to this customer without understanding that? And I think it's extremely critical that this multimedia empire needs to leverage that. It needs to understand that. It needs to make that investment.
Great. Kain, thank you so much for that analysis. Gokula, would you like to go next, please?
Sure. This is a perfect example where the customer does have the right business strategy, growing the top-line revenue and bottom-line profitability, but at the same time is not able to connect all the dots. And obviously, one of the area that they need to invest in, it looks like they do not have a clear sense of, customer in one channel and customer in another channel, they're not able to link it. So it's crying out for, implementing definitely a very robust, master data solutions around customer and creating a 360-degree view, utilizing both the structured data as well as the unstructured data. Second, they really need to understand all the channels that their customers are going to, and then begin to, once you piece together and understand the customer lifecycle value, begin to personalize their customer engagement through different campaigns. They can, looks like now they are not able to measure all the campaigns that they're having. By connecting all the dots, they will be able to measure different campaigns. They will be able to, do experimentations, saying, if we try this, what happens? And big data and analytics technologies, used properly, can give them tremendous value, and that question that analytics is too expensive is going to go away because they're going to derive huge business value.
Great, Gokula. Thank you so much for that insight. So, John, you're last up. Please, last but not least, please give me your commentary.
Thank you, Phil. Clearly, this company needs to start managing their data as an asset. And as we're consistently seeing in big data analytics projects, 80% of the work is integrating the data and cleaning the data. And because there's so many different channels here that they're trying to integrate, that's something that they need to invest in. But you know what? It's not just about technology. What I see here is they need to be really rethinking their organization and the people and process that they're going to use to improve their business. Because it starts there. It doesn't start with the technology. For example, one company that we're working with has a chief analytics officer that reports directly to the CEO. And that's how important analytics is to their business. They started off, when she first came in to run this, they started off with Excel and Access for basic reporting. Her goal was to get them to really be doing predictive analytics, and it took them 7 years to get there. So it really is a journey. You start small and you build on success. And if expense the expenses is too much, start small. Consider cloud. There's ways that you can reduce that upfront expenditure to prove out the success.
Okay, John, thank you so much. And we're going to go to another question from the audience at this point. It's not on one of the case history studies. This is kind of a free-for-all question. And the question is, could one of the panelists throw some light on any case studies around legal e-discovery domain which they have come across? So something to do with the legal e-discovery. Anyone?
Yeah, I could touch on that a little bit. So we have a couple customers that are using us for legal e-discovery, and basically, I'm not an expert, but I'll just kind of describe what they're doing. Is they have tons, just a wealth of documents and material that they need to comb through and automatically mine and index, right? So it makes it easy for lawyers and so on to do their search, right? So we have at least a couple of customers that are using our technology to help them store, manage, index, identify, what they have in place so that they can provide this service back to their clients. So clearly, you're dealing with a lot of unstructured data, right? Because this is documents. So you need to be able to go through and mine that unstructured data, index it based on terms and phrases, and then tie that back to common search queries that might be executed as part of client queries.
Great, John, thank you for that. So I have another question that's coming from the audience, and this question is for you, Gokula, at Oracle. So here's the question. I have an enterprise application. I have Facebook, Twitter presence, so there's social media data. Our EDW is working fine. Our DB and reports are providing data that we need. The question is there something that we're not demanding or do not know about the value that big data implementation could bring us? Where's the value? How do we unlock the value in the data that we don't even know what the data is about?
So really, there are two ways to look at it. Number one, looking from the business perspective, do you really understand your customers at a personal level? And is there data that you have access to, is available, which is new data that you can leverage new technologies to understand your customers even deeper, so you can personalize your customer engagement with them. So there are tools and data, both are available, and I can take hours to go through all kinds of data that's available in the market and that you can leverage, along with Twitter data, Facebook data, blogs, syndicated data sources, that you can really understand your customers very deep. Second aspect is you really need to think about, do you have technology that can tell you what the non-obvious relationships and associations you have inside your data. And that's what I was talking about. We are so used to model first, because once you model the data, which is most of our data warehouses are, we already are putting a boundary around all the relationships that we feel, and that's how we are modeling our data. So you need to really look at data first, where you don't have a model, but bring the data together so that using some of the technologies that we provide, as well as data management technology that we offer, you can begin to create that picture which is not obvious to you right now around your customer engagement.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add something to what Gokula said. I like what you said. Don't focus on modeling first, as you're trying to unlock the value from the data, which brings up a point that I like to make is you need to be asking the right questions, right? Certainly you need to be able to govern the data, but you need to be asking what are the questions that you're seeking, and where are you going to find the answers? So you don't have to model the data to do that.
Great. Those are all good inputs. So what we're going to do right now is that I'm going to ask for a final comment from each one of the panelists, and we're going to talk about upcoming webinar in the Bodhtree series of webinars for 2013, and then we're going to give away the iPad mini that we offer to early registrants. So I'll start off with Kain. Kain, why don't you give me your closing comment?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Phil. First, thank everybody for coming to the webinar. The important thing is, as you heard the key word throughout the webinar, the journey. It is definitely a journey. And as you go through the process, the journey is actually changing as time goes. There's new technologies, new phrases, new things that are coming. So I would suggest, closing comment from Bodhtree or for myself is, you need a trusted partner to go through this journey. You need a partner that's been there, done that, that has the relationships, that understands what's happening and what's about to happen, and how do you solve that. So it's a combination of experience and expertise, and definitely a lot of domain and business knowledge. It's not just putting technologies out there, it's understanding what those technologies can and cannot do, and understanding what the business needs to do to move forward and to be, to be competitive.
Great, Kain. Thank you for that. So, John, why don't you go second?
Thank you. I'd just like to reiterate that, 80% of the work in a big data project is what we call data integration and data quality. Informatica is the proven leader in that to help you along that journey. With that, it's also important to note that you need to start managing data as an asset. Identify, as Gokula was saying, identify the business opportunity, and then tie that to the data. What data is going to have the most significant impact? Identify, and then getting back to the organization, identify the skills and competencies you're going to need. And then, once you do that, you can start to prioritize the data, customer data, product data, and then control the costs. We saw in some of the examples that costs are getting out of control, so you're going to have to invest in order to save some money there. And then demonstrate quick ROI. Start small and then grow. Look at data governance in order to get a sense of what you have, right, so that you know how to use it. And then promote best practices as you gain experience and competency.
Great, John. And Gokula, I guess I'm saving the best for last. Go ahead.
All right. Really, as I pointed out, think about very simple 3 different buckets. One is, what can I do to leverage big data analytics to find opportunities for innovation? Second is, where are the opportunities for me to optimize by looking at the data that I already have? And third is, what can I do to simplify the IT in order to leverage? Because when you bring the big data analytics to your infrastructure, to your IT shop, you're bringing extreme levels of volumes. You're bringing many varieties of data, and you're bringing very high velocity data. So you really need to simplify so that you minimize data movements, so that you offer analytics to deal with the volume of data. So the analytics is very, very scalable, and it's actually in-memory analytics working with the database. Make sure that your analytics are available anywhere and everywhere, so your data scientists developing models in business can take that and run that on the big data platform. Data is residing in Hadoop using R, and take the same R model and run it on your Oracle data warehouse. Make sure that you can also take the same analytics model and use SQL to run that anywhere you want. It is going to be very, very important as you embrace the big data analytics to simplify your IT architecture and infrastructures. And at the end, what I would say is, really make sure you understand that you need to apply discovery, you need to create hypothesis which is going to address business questions, you need to be open to experiment with your data, and then measure and improve the cycle of how to leverage the big data.
Gokula, thank you so much. I want to thank my esteemed panelists, Gokula Mishra from Oracle, John Haddad from Informatica, and Kain Sosa from Bodhtree. So we're going to wrap up here. If you have more questions about how to get started in big data, how a big data company like Bodhtree can help you, just go to your screen here and contact Maria Cardo, either by email or by phone number. And Bodhtree would be delighted to have one of our big data experts sit down and help you realize the value of big data in your organization. Our next seminar on May 15th is a webinar that's on optimizing value chain planning with big data. And now we have the drawing for the iPad mini. And the winner, with a drum roll please, is Sky Decker from Intuit. So Sky, please contact Ryan Matson at Bodhtree for your iPad mini. I want to thank everyone for joining the webinar today, and I look forward to seeing everyone here again on May 15th. And a couple of days from now, you're going to get an email with a recording of this particular webinar link that you can go to so that you can send this off to your friends and colleagues. Thank you so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much.